Welcome back to part 2 of this 2-part series with my amazing guest, Jeff Buehner. If you haven't already caught part 1, it is definitely worth listening to. Jeff talks about how empowered you are to create the life that you dream of, how you can change the feelings that you're experiencing to literally create a new reality for yourself. It was such an amazing conversation, and I am so honored to have him back on the podcast today to really give you the tips and strategies and specific things you can do today to start changing the way you feel and change the way your life is. He dives into how you can create better relationships, how you can create financial freedom, how you can create the joy that you maybe desire so deeply in your life, and to finally feel fulfilled. This was such an amazing conversation, and I'm so honored to have him here again today to give you so much value and incredible insight into the power that you have within your mind and within your feelings. So welcome back. This is part 2 of this amazing conversation. I cannot wait to get into it because part 1 was so good. So if you're listening, you definitely want to listen to part 1 before you listen to this, and we're going to dive right in. So thank you again for coming back, Jeff. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you for having me back. We're getting into the fun stuff now.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. And this is going to be, I enjoyed our first conversation. I was just saying that, and I cannot wait to hear more about this and really get into the good stuff. So if you could just remind us a little bit, kind of recap what we talked about in part 1, and then we'll jump right in today.
Yeah, so I don't know how much time we spent on part 1, but I think it was pretty substantial.
It was.
And basically, I told this story about coming across the writings of Sultan Musa of Mali. This is the greatest rags to riches story ever told that you haven't heard about, unless you listen to us. This guy was dirt poor. As a child, he had to steal food to stay alive. He fell in with an older thief who tried to murder him. He survived that, and he had what we call a near-death experience. And it's in this experience that he learned some things that allowed him to become one of, if not the most wealthiest man on earth. Now, he wasn't just wealthy. This isn't just about money. His marriage was like the things of fairy tales. He was loved by everybody. He was benevolent. It's said of him that he built a school or started construction on a school every Friday. He elevated his whole kingdom out of poverty, out of wars, out of ignorance. And he did all this the same way he lifted up his own life, by following what I've boiled it down to 7 secrets, 7 principles, but basically by following the teachings of this being that he met during this out-of-body experience. Now, in his writings, there's a basic formula, and we covered that in round 1. So I'm just going to quickly kind of review it right now so that you understand this formula. And just to give you an idea, I followed this formula 30 years ago. This isn't something I'm guessing about, and you don't have to guess about it either. You don't have to take my word. You follow this formula, and the same thing will happen to you that happened to me. And what happened to me was substantial, and it's documented. And we can go into that more, but it's all in round 1, and it's all in the book that I gave you for free. All you got to do is download it, and you have the audio version of the book, and you've got my story. So basically, there is a mechanism that controls and steers your life. It has put you exactly where you are right now. It gives you your personality. When you wake up in the morning, you know as well as I do, you start thinking the same habitual thoughts and feeling the same habitual way about your relationships, the amount of money you've got in the bank, what you've accomplished, how good of a father or mother or friend you are. Well, where's that coming from? Okay, it's coming from something Musa called your veiled mind, but we are all familiar with the concept of a subconscious mind. Thankfully, I don't have to teach you that part. You can wrap your head around that very quickly. This subconscious mind or veiled mind will make true in your physical world whatever it believes about you. Or I'm going to put it a little bit different. Whatever it believes about the role you're playing, because that's all any of us are doing. We've accepted a role, we're dedicated to that role, and we get into character and stay there. The whole point of that role is to learn. You could play thousands of different roles. If you were dropped in a different situation, you'd pick up and play a different role, no problem. The whole thing is about learning. That's the most important thing you're doing, because experience of any kind, good or bad, doesn't matter. Experience is the currency of eternity. And take my word for it, you're getting loaded just for being here. But Kelly, as you know, the conscious mind cares about what kind of experience. It would rather have less negative and a lot more positive experience.
Absolutely.
And you can. And that's what we're going to jump into right now.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, go ahead.
I can't wait to hear more about it, because I mean, that's absolutely correct. And like, just from my experience, even just as I dove into understanding my subconscious mind, which took me 30 some years to realize that, you realize how limited you were yourself. You know, when you look back on your life, you can see how that matched what your external environment was by what your beliefs were. So that's, I've experienced the other end of it, and have also experienced when you start to reprogram that, how your life can change too. So this is why I love this conversation.
Well, people think that limiting beliefs, subconscious beliefs, are permanent. They're serious. I mean, they're running your life. You act based on what your subconscious mind believes about your role every time, all the time. People can count on it. That's how you're going to act. And you're going to get the results of that action and that personality and whatever comes with that. So it's no joke that you have preset subconscious beliefs. Here's what most people get wrong. They think that those are very hard to change because they're rooted in your past, and you can't go back and change the past, right?
Right.
They're not rooted in your past. They're rooted in your experience. And if you have an experience today that overrides an experience of your childhood, boom, you got a new subconscious belief. And let me give you a quick example of that, because this will become important as we get into the techniques. How do you do this?
Are you the person who says yes, even though you want to say no? Are you the person who puts your own needs and wants last behind the demands of your work and everyone else in your life? If you answered yes to any of these, you may be self-abandoning, and it does not come without a cost. If you want to know if you're self-abandoning for achievement, take my free quiz in the show notes.
Let's say as a child, you were asked to sing a song or give a little part, and you were supposed to talk, and you got up in the front of the room and there's a big crowd and you froze. You forgot your lines. Maybe one of the other kids snickered. Then the whole audience laughed. And you swore, not even consciously, just somewhere in you, you said to yourself, I'm never going to get up in front of a crowd again. That was horrible.
Yeah.
All right. So you had an event. It was accompanied by strong emotion. And now you got a subconscious belief. And that's all it takes to set one. Okay, so now you're 30, you're 40, whatever age you are, somebody asks you something about a topic that you're well-versed in. And you start talking about it with passion, and you're bold, and you just start laying it out, and you're well prepared. And all of a sudden you realize that 7 or 8 or 12 people are listening and they're spellbound. And when you get done, you know they loved it. And they're all asking you questions. Oh, I love that you know this. Thank you. Help me. Now you've had a new event with new emotion, positive emotion. Boom, subconscious belief just overrided. Overwritten is a better way to put it. Just paved over that old one. And tomorrow you wake up thinking, you know, I could stand up in front of a crowd of maybe 12 or 20 and talk about something I'm well versed in. And you can. Now you can. You have the absolute confidence to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead. Ask your questions.
I want to talk about that too, because I totally agree, and I love that. For maybe someone who hasn't had the external experience, can you talk on that? Like, because some people might get stuck in like, well, I'm waiting for that to happen to override that belief. But what can you do for someone who's maybe hasn't had an external experience to override it? Where can they start where they can actually create this and not wait for something like that to happen in their physical environment?
Okay, so don't ever go backwards. All I want you to do is answer this question. What do you want? What would make you happy? If something happened today that made you really happy, what would that be? And don't tie it to the physical. Don't tie it to your limitations. Just answer the question. Act like you had a magic wand in your hand. And if you could point it at anything, your relationship, your amount of money, your career, anything, poof, now it is exactly the way you want it. What would that be? And write it down, because you're going to do this every day now for the rest of your life if you're smart. And you're just going to start collecting a collection of, let's call them imaginary scenarios that you run in your imagination. They have nothing to do with reality. You're just imagining this and they make you happy. Okay, these are gold. This is where your power is. Start collecting some imaginary scenarios. What if your sweetheart treated you like this? What if your career was about this? What if you made this amount of money every month? What if you had this amount of money in the bank? And you create these scenarios that their only job is to make you feel good. Now, why is that important? Because feelings is the language that the mechanism that controls your life hears, responds to, believes, and obeys. So if you listen to round one, you know that Sultan Musa of Mali was the author of the fairy tale Aladdin and the Magic Lamp. And the three main elements are Aladdin, the all-powerful genie, and the magic lamp. He wrote this as a metaphor for his own life, and he did it to preserve his life so that he could talk about these things without getting in trouble with the powers that be, with the clergy, and with, you know, just everybody, even the current sultan. When he started talking about these things, he had to be careful. You could lose your head back then.
Right.
You could lose it today if you say too many of the wrong things. So I think you can understand this. Aladdin represents you, that part of you that you think of as you, the conscious mind. The all-powerful inner genie that can get you anything you want, that's your veiled mind or your subconscious mind. But you have to know how to command it in the right language. And here comes the magic lamp. The language of the gods, the language your subconscious mind believes and obeys, is feelings. And don't gloss over this. This is so important because, well, I'll ask you a question. When's the last time you felt what it's like to have plenty of money, just to be totally financially secure? You got money, you got assets. If this goes down, that's going to go up. I mean, I'm set. When's the last time you felt that? And when's the last time you felt absolutely healthy and vibrant and full of life and feeling good, no pain, just tons of energy? When's the last time you felt loved and respected the way you want to be loved on your terms? Now, if the answer to any of those or any other questions you might come up with is, oh, geez, it's been forever, or maybe never, I've never felt financially secure. You can't expect your inner genie, your subconscious mind, to create a life for you that you've never commanded it to create in the only language it obeys.
That's huge. That's huge
Oh,
right there. Yeah.
okay, so
Can we
yeah,
expand on
please.
that a little bit? So I know how you're saying create the scenarios, write them down every day.
Yes.
When someone's doing that and they have a very vivid image of what they want, do you recommend writing down the same scenario every day and focusing on just one thing? Or is it like create different scenarios that create different elevated emotions? How would
Yeah,
that look? Because
great question.
yeah.
When I started doing this, I came up with something I called the game that changes everything. And I focused on three things. So the most important thing for me was I didn't have enough money. So I wrote down an amount of money and built these little scenarios around, holy crap, I've got this amount of money in the bank. What would I do with it? Where would I spend it? Would I help somebody? Would I pay off my car first? So then I had three of those. Well, here's what happened to me, and it's going to happen to you. So be prepared for this. Initially, I would focus on one, then the other one, then the third one. But I found that it was awkward for me. I wasn't good at imagining. I would like clumsily try to create some scenario and stay with it before my mind wandered off to, hey, you got an appointment in half an hour. You better get ready. So it was clumsy at first, but here's what happened as I stayed with it. All of a sudden, I noticed a movie would break forth in front of my mind, and I wasn't creating it anymore. All of a sudden, I was just seeing images, and I was wrapped up in this vision of my life with the right amount of money and the right health and the right sweetheart and the right amount of fun and adventure. And now it's got all three of my elements plus a couple more. Like I can see myself in a new car, way better than the old work truck I was in. And it would roll out in front of me like your dreams do. You're not running them. I mean, you can kind of seize control of them, especially waking daydreams. You can insert things and control them. But when that movie breaks forth, your subconscious mind just bought into this game, and it loves this game. Mm-hmm. And it's the one answering the questions. What would it be like to have all this money? Boom, it starts sending you answers. You could go to Hawaii. You could take your wife to Venice. You could do all these fun, wonderful things. You could have great health and a trainer and a membership at the gym. Okay, so now you're seeing it more like a movie of your life. But you start out by focusing on, because you're going to find it takes some effort to focus on what would it feel like to have plenty of money, and what amount is plenty. You got to play with that, try on a few amounts. So that's what's going to happen. Stay with it. Just keep trying until it starts becoming really easy and you see it as an overarching vision of your life rather than, oh my gosh, how do I see myself wealthy when I've never been,
Yeah. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you for clarifying that, because that's exactly, I think, for someone who's like, I've never experienced wealth before, like to even like imagine it would be hard. So thank you for saying that, like that consistency, and that it does open up if you just stick with it. Are there anything that, like, as far as using your body or anything to help you get into that space where you can really focus on that imagined vision rather than like your reality?
Listen, you're good at this already. I don't need to teach you to be good at it, except I am going to share with you like 3 actual techniques. Uh, and they're just basically questions or statements. And you can use these to instantly trigger yourself into a make-believe dream world. But you've done this before. So you know that if you have a great big stack of dishes and you got to start washing it and it's late, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, you wish you could go to bed, you can start washing those dishes from your second home in Hawaii. And you can be looking out the window and you don't see the snowstorm. You see palm trees swaying in the wind. You see the ocean right there and your family playing in it. And you're just working away. The next thing you know, you've been lost in this beautiful daydream. And man, the dishes are done.
Yeah.
This is how you do it for everything.
I like that.
You
Yeah.
can be
Anchor it
lost.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Now, we already talked about triggers in round 1. So I'm going to skip to, you understand that you have to have triggers because the physical world has them. It's trying to trigger you to keep your focus there, to feel afraid, worried, concerned. So you got to have triggers. And this is your dream sheets, your dream boards, music, statements, anything that kicks you out of that, kicks you out of focusing on the big stack of dishes and into focusing on this beautiful daydream of being in Hawaii. And you'll get good at this. You'll get to where you welcome having a stack of dishes because this is just time. You know how to do it without thinking too much. And you're just going to get lost in your last beautiful daydream that you wrote down. Okay, so how do you do this? Here's where I want to give you some actual tools. Remember when you were kids? Might be hard. Like if you're my age, that was a long time ago. But you were good at this. You'd get lost in a make-believe world and you did it by declaring, simply declaring, I'm a prince and this is my steed. This old fallen log is my horse and I'm riding into battle and I own this whole world. The other kids would, play along. They didn't correct you. They didn't say, hey, that's not a horse, it's just a log. No, they'd play along and your sister would say, okay, then I'm the queen and this is my castle. And you didn't correct her. You didn't say, that's just a lawnmower shed. What are you talking? No, everybody would get lost in this game and you'd stay in it for hours. And when that was over, you'd get in another one. You had to be taught to quit doing this. But you did it with declarations. So that's how you're going to do it again. You're washing the dishes and you just say to yourself in your mind, I'm in our second home in Hawaii. Now you can ask some other questions like, how does it feel to be in my second home in Hawaii? But this is how you do it. And you can do it for anything. Declare it. Yeah. I have $800,000 in my mattress. Start playing around with that. Vision it, see it. How would you spend it? Go kneel down and put your hand in the mattress. Feel it. Declarations.
I love that because I have a 4-year-old and he does this all the time and everything is so real. He's like, I'm Optimus Prime and we become Bumblebee. And, it's like, so I love that. But you're so right. That's in us. It's like, we just put a lot of stuff on top of it, but it's still within us. So I love that. It's such a great actionable step.
Okay, now listen, you just brought up something great. Your kid knows how to do it. As an adult, you've been taught to quit doing it. So your first impulse is going to be, yeah, but it's not real. It's just a daydream. It's not real. Okay, you're right. What about the feelings that he's feeling, that you're feeling when you're lost in a daydream of having $800,000 cash? Are the feelings real?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Your job, don't do this to change your physical world. I'll give you a little tip for that in just a second. Your only job is to see if you can create feelings that match the life you want. if you can, you're done. You just commanded your subconscious mind to go find scenarios and circumstances, literally create them out of thin air that match the feelings you're flooding it with by getting lost in a daydream. So that's all you have to do. See if you can produce good feelings about your career, good feelings about your husband or your wife, or if you don't have one of those and you want one, good feelings about the perfect sweetheart in your life. That's your only job. And don't forget it. Don't try to start doing manifesting. I'm going to think so hard that something changes in the physical realm. It won't, because you're focused on the physical realm. And now how do you feel? Yeah, you're seeing that stack of bills and you know you don't have enough money to cover them.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Right. And like, I love that point, because like, that's such a great point, because what that reminds me of is I just read the book, The Gap and the Gain. And it talks about, if you're in the gap, you're looking at everything that you don't have. So that would be that, like, I'm manifesting it, but it's not here. So here we go. And then the feelings are in the gap, versus the gain. What you talk about is that daydreaming. You're in the gain there, whether it's there or not, you're in the gain because you are creating those feelings. So I love that, because there's even more application of recognizing that.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. That's a really important point that I
Yeah.
might have skipped over.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another technique that will help you. Remember, you're just seeing if you can produce good feelings in like the face of what's going on in reality. One way you can do that to override limiting beliefs that your subconscious mind has and will impose upon you unless you have a little trick. Here's a trick. Say something happened and then fill in the blanks. Now, your job isn't to think of what it was that happened. It's just something happened and I have $800,000 in my mattress.
I like that. Mm-hmm.
Your subconscious mind loves the pretend game, the make-believe game. It loves the like assume that your neighbor is just kicking butt and everything's great for them, and it will feed you. Like if you think you can assign all kinds of great attributes and situations to someone else, and your subconscious mind will never say, no, that's not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It will just let you go in this imagining that your neighbor's doing great or your sister is just feeling so confident and strong.
Yeah.
Well, it also loves the game of emulate. Pretend that you're your sister now for a few minutes, and it will flood you with all of the same feelings of confidence, strength, power that you imagine your sister's. She might not be in real life, but you imagine she is. And your subconscious mind will flood you with them. And now what? You're the confident one. You're the bold one. You're the smart one.
I love that.
Okay.
That's such like, that's so good. And it just reminds me again of another book that I've read, but it's Unfuck Yourself. And it says you're winning at life. And you're winning at life, whether you realize it or not. You're either winning at winning, or you're winning at losing. But your subconscious mind is going to make you win regardless of whatever you put in it. You're going to win at it. So I love that. But just to take on that persona and really dive into that, that's such another very applicable thing you could do. You know, anybody that you look up to and admire, like, that's so awesome. I love that. I just love these tips, because you often don't hear these things. You just hear like, sit down, imagine, and that's it. But here are just so many more strategies that I really appreciate you sharing.
Well, even The Secret gives you about half the truth and then leaves off the second half. So you get all excited, get cruising along, and then the train goes over the missing track and into the gully.
Yes.
What I'm telling you is so simple, and it's the rest of the track. It's the bridge that takes you over the gully. Feelings are self-fulfilling prophecies. If you feel you can or feel you can't, you're right. The first thing that's going to happen to you is not if you do this, if you do what I'm talking about, and you fill yourself up with good feelings about every aspect of life that's important to you by using your imagination, just creating these imaginary scenarios and getting lost in them. Mm-hmm. The first thing that's going to happen isn't that something's going to change in your physical realm. That's what you're going to notice second. Mm-hmm. Here's how you'll know it's working. All of a sudden, you'll realize that you feel confident in that realm. And this is before anything's changed. So you're just playing around with these scenarios of having plenty of money, being loved the right way. And all of a sudden, you used to think about your relationship and get really apprehensive and kind of discontented and feel bad and start thinking about the last mean thing he said to you. And now you feel bad. And all of a sudden, you're not doing that anymore. You're just imagining the perfect sweetheart. And that's all. You forget about whatever else is going on or not going on. And now when you think about relationships, you realize, I don't feel bad anymore. I can't. I just feel good. I feel confident. I know it's going to be all right. Where's that coming from? That doesn't match reality.
Yeah.
Stay with it. And here's what happens second. A coincidence is going to pop up. After the confidence comes coincidence. So you're still doing it. You're waking up in the morning. You start getting in the shower instead of singing, which maybe helps, but you just start getting lost in your last great imaginary scenario. And the whole time you're getting ready and now you're driving to work, you already have this movie going, and it's encompassing several aspects of your life, and you're just lost in this. Now something is going to happen. And by the way, this happens all the time. People give away land, they give away cars. I had a guy call me this many years ago. I had plenty of money by then. I'd long since learned about the 7 secrets, but I saw myself as a smart businessman. So smart businessmen don't just go buy something at top dollar that isn't worth it and drive it off the lot. And now it's worth 20% less because you drove it off the lot. So I didn't do things like that. And I thought it'd be great to have a truck. And I had a specific truck in mind, but it was like, I'm not going to go out and spend 40,000 on it. If I can get it for, maybe 20, and I know that those trucks sell for much more than that. But if something happens and I get that truck for 20, I'll buy it. It didn't take a month before a friend of mine called me, and he was taking a new job, moving to a new state. He wanted to get rid of all of his payments. And he told me he put plenty of money down on this truck. It was the exact truck.
Wow.
He'd put money down on it. He'd been paying on it for several years. It's 3 years old now, but it's still worth way more than what his payments on it worth, what's left on the payments. And he said, listen, if you'll take over the payments, you've got a truck that's worth at least 10 grand more than what you pay for it. Well, then I called the loan officer and got a payoff amount. And he was right. I just paid it off and had a truck that was worth way more than I paid for it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Something happened and I got that truck.
Yeah.
I do this all the time. I get everything this way.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's exciting because it's like now you're like, there's the evidence, of this how this works. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's just going to be silly little things that pop up and you're going to go, okay, that's not the $800,000 cash, but grandma dropped off a check for $1,000. It matches those same feelings, like free money coming to me, plenty, just money coming to me. Mm-hmm. And then something else is going to happen, and another one, and another one. And next thing you know, you do have 800,000 in a mattress. If you really want that, you're just using the imagery to produce the way you want to feel about money. That's all.
Yeah.
Here's another, I'm going to give you, Kelly, one more really important I don't know, call it a trick, a tip,
Mhm. Mhm.
because you can't do it to force your physical world to change, or you've blown it. Now you're focused on the physical world and you get the feelings of your real life situation. You're right back to where you were.
Mhm.
You want to change your feelings, and they're not going to match reality for a while. All right. Separate your two worlds. You've got a physical world and you have a spirit world. This is the world of your dreams. It's an alternate spirit reality, and you have a physical reality, and they're going to be different for a while. But if you will stay with building the alternate spirit reality, that's the one with the power and the life. And that's the one that affects this other one over here. So take your focus off the one that really doesn't have the power, except to keep it the way it is, and move your focus to this beautiful spirit alternative reality and build it until it's so beautiful that it makes you feel you're just sizzling with excitement all day long because you're staring at that one.
Yeah. What you just said, that is such a clarifying, like for me, even just such a clarifying moment. Or like, oh, there's two realms. Like I know you're talking about
Yes.
our two bodies, we have our physical body and our soul body, but like when you describe it like that, you're like, oh, and it just almost like for me, it's like that permission and like opens a door of like, oh, of course you create this spirit reality, just like I feel like there's less resistance when you describe it like that. Like that just it made a lot of sense to me the way you described it. And I love that. Like just such a clear image of like you're not trying to change this, you're trying to change the other one.
That's perfect,
Yeah.
Kelly. Yeah, you
Mhm.
just nailed it.
Yeah.
Look, let the physical world be what it is.
Mhm.
Like, have you ever picked up a book and you read it for an hour and then you put it down, and then you pick it up again? Um, or you watch a Netflix thriller and did I say Netflix? Netflix? I
That's
don't know
okay.
what I said, but Netflix. And you come back to it. So like you go do something, then you have an hour tonight after dinner and you watch it again. And it's still in the messy stage. The hero hasn't conquered yet.
Mhm.
Okay, treat your physical world like that. It's a book. It's still in the messy stage. But go into it for, I don't know. I don't go into mine very often anymore
Mhm.
because I stay in that beautiful dream world. You could almost do a flipsy flopsy where you say the Netflix movie is just beautiful and the hero is conquering and just getting everything he or she wants,
Mhm.
and I'm binge watching. I can't stop. And
Mhm.
then, you go into your physical realm to get a sandwich, or because your son says, "Hey, I'm sorry I dented your car with my bike." And you're like, "Hey, I don't even, okay. I don't even care. I'll fix it. I'll get a new car. I'm going back to my beautiful Netflix series." I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying Netflix. Okay, either way you want to play that game, let the physical world be the mess it is right now, for now, knowing it's going to change. And I promise you it's going to change. Something is going to happen if you move your focus to the spirit realm, this beautiful dream world, remembering that feelings are self-fulfilling prophecies. So your only job, create great feelings about money, career, health, fitness, love, fun, adventure, travel, anything that's important to you.
Yeah.
Create the feelings, then you're done. So
Yeah.
treat the physical like, yeah, I'm going to read another chapter in the book and it's scary. He's still in trouble, but then I'm going to put that book down and get back to real life, which is your dream world.
Yeah, I love that. And it's almost like I like how you said switch them because it's like we're anchored into this physical world. Most people, I think, are very anchored into this physical world. Like this is where I live. Versus now, if we switch the anchor to the spirit world, we're like, oh, this is where I live, and I have to come and do some things in the physical world, but I'm coming back to my anchored spot. And it's
Yeah.
like that permission you're giving yourself to be like, here, you create the experience you want in this. And releasing yourself from the expectations of the physical world is just like so empowering to realize that like there's no timeline here. You're creating that and you have that at your beck and call at any minute to be like, how can I change this to be part of what I am creating on that side?
Perfectly said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you one last clue, and this is no small clue.
Yeah.
I may or may not have mentioned in round one that when I came across these writings, this manuscript of Sultan Musa of Mali's first and second parchment, the first one was the fairy tale. The second was a complete analysis of and a breakdown of the fairy tale, what everything means, and how to speak the language of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
When I read that, I had lost my fervor, my interest, I'm not sure how to put it, for all things religion. It's not that I didn't believe in God, I really did. And I just didn't want to hear anyone else's idea on who God is. And I didn't want to hear anything about the Bible. It all just felt like judgment to me. And of course, no matter how hard I tried, I could never live up to everything. And if I did good at one thing, well, that's still not good enough because you didn't do the other. It was just like, leave me alone. Don't talk to me about that. You want to sing a hymn, go right ahead, but do it where I can't hear you. You know. All right. Well, as soon as I saw the Bible and a lot of other religious writings through the prism of what Sultan Musa of Mali taught, and remember, he got it from the man made of light and love, who now I believe is absolutely the power behind all of these religious texts that are true, that help you. And I see it completely different. It's just a how-to manual from the person who knows how to have a successful, prosperous, happy life. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something in there about, tell the truth. You don't have to do everything perfect. You don't have to be 100% churchgoer. If you tell the truth, you're going to get the benefits of telling the truth. And what are those? People will trust you. People will be able to rely on what you say. You may not think so, but you will rise in business. Something will happen if you're a truth teller, if people can count on you. Even if you say something like, this is going to hurt me to tell you the truth, but this is the truth. And now I just lost 10 grand. But still, it's the truth. Mm-hmm. You're going to get that 10 grand back plus probably 100-fold. I mean, you'll get the benefits of telling the truth, and they're major.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's another scripture that is less easy to explain unless you see it through the prism of Sultan Musa of Mali, because it says, to be carnally minded or physical world reminded or minded, to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Mm-hmm. Well, once you've read the parchment, it's so clear. It's like, yeah, to focus on the physical world, that just keeps you held down. And yeah, it's death. But when you're lost in your beautiful daydreams, it's fun, it's life, it's peace. You feel great. Okay, let's keep going with this, because the same guy said, when asked, where's the kingdom of God? He said, the kingdom of God is within you. All right. And then the next question was, well, how do you enter the kingdom of God? And what was his answer? By becoming as little children. What does that mean? As soon as you see it through this prism, is so clear. They live in a dream world all the time until some adult teaches them to quit doing it. Quit doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. Like, I mean, and again, you're so right, because when just because you spoke about all this, all those sentences make so much more sense. And it's like you're living in the physical world. The physical world is based on all the past subconscious everything, whereas like when you're in the spirit world, that's the creation stage of what your life can be. And That's really what we're here to do, is create, not just relive the same thing over and over again based on what we see and our five senses.
Well, let's wrap this up with one last little metaphor that
Mhm.
will really help. It helps me, and I think it will help your audience.
Mhm.
Um, when you want to go somewhere, you go get in your car and you want to go to the store or the mall or whatever. Do you think, well, I can't go to the mall because 10 years ago, I started out to go to the mall and I ended up, somewhere else? No, you don't care about the past when you want to go somewhere today.
Mhm.
Here's how you go to the mall. You get in your car and you use your imagination. You're so good at this that you take it for granted. You do it quick as a cat. You imagine the mall and it's on that side of town, and you just quickly create this little picture, but it's not like a snapshot with a camera. It's your imagination. I'm going to this place and it's over there. And then you jump to where you are and say, okay, I got to go down my street and then turn left on Country Lane. And then I'm going to turn right on Sunset. And you create this glimpse of the route, but not even the entire route, just the first part of the route and a glimpse of where you want to end up.
Mhm.
You send this glimpse to whom? Your subconscious mind, and it takes it from there. It literally, you can start singing a song and get lost in whatever thought, and your subconscious mind will take you down your road, turn left and turn right on Sunset. About the time it does that, it will tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, we're coming up to another intersection. Which way are we going? And you give it another glimpse. Oh, yeah, we got to turn left, and then we're going to go up to Red Hills Parkway and turn right. And that's how you get anywhere. That's how you got in the relationship you're in. You glimpsed it all the way. It's how you're staying in that relationship. You keep giving it glimpses of what it believes it's supposed to be, even if that's negative. How are you doing that? Okay. You start thinking about the last mean thing your husband said, or he forgot to get you a card on an important holiday, whatever, and you start running that scenario in your mind. What are you doing?
Mhm.
You're sending it glimpses. Take me here. Keep me here.
Mhm.
What if all you did to change your life dramatically was to stop doing that, pull out a dream sheet with a couple who's obviously in love and going places and treating each other well with respect and love, and you just stare at that and then get lost in some scenarios and start feeling what it's like to be in a great relationship. And again, put down the book, turn off Netflix for a minute of the physical. Just let it be over there. I'm going to come back to it maybe later. But right now I'm in a different place and I'm feeling different. Look, I was in a situation where my wife and I were not getting along very well. And I had turned around my finances, my career. I had a great business. Everything had changed. I was driving my dream car, my little Mercedes. I was just having a great time in every area but that one. And it was so hard for me to try to imagine that being good because there's just so many things out of whack. I was just like, oh my gosh, whatever I do. And then here she comes, you know, piss me off. So I decided to do this, and all I did was create wife number two. Now, this is just the perfect version of wife number one. And I would just spend time with her, allowing her to talk to me and tell me how wonderful I am and what a great father and husband, and point out all the things I do to keep this family going and keep all the little monkeys fed. And that's all I did. And I'm telling you, the weirdest coincidences popped up. My wife started saying things and doing things. I didn't tell her what I was doing. All I did is change how I felt about a relationship, what a relationship should be.
Mhm.
And boom, she started changing, and she would do things. Literally, my mouth would fall open and I'd be like, she wasn't doing that a month ago. She hasn't done it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Now she's doing it, and it matches perfectly with the feelings I'm generating purely with my imagination, making it up out of whole cloth.
That is
Go
so
do that
powerful.
and
Yeah.
change your life. That's all there is to it.
It's such a powerful thing because I guess again it can feel like a solo journey, like what do I want in my life, but we're living in a world that we're interacting with others, so to hear that aspect of it too, that you're creating the ideal relationship in your head and feeling the feelings of that, and now you're actually seeing the relationship change even though you're not forcing anything on her, it's
Right.
like you're just creating the feelings and now you're starting to see changes in that. Like that's such a powerful thing. And I think something that probably resonates with so many people who like deeply desire a better relationship in their life. And they're like, well, I can do all the work, but if they're not doing anything, how is it ever going to be better? And so
Yeah.
now here you can see where this can still create that in your life.
Well, remember, you said something really important there. You said you're not forcing anything on her. No, you're not. She can keep acting like a snot while you're acting great, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Uh, but if that continues for too long, someone else is going to come into the picture that treats you right, and it's going to be a no-brainer. I'm not staying in this horrible relationship, or something is going to happen. It just will. But here's how easy it is to see this in real life. You see maybe, let's say, a customer service person at a hotel or in a store, it doesn't matter. And one person comes up to them with a complaint and they get treated like crap, just like dismissed. Oh, that's not right. And then someone else walks into the room, and maybe they're not even as handsome or beautiful, and you can't tell physically why this is different, but the second they walk in the room, that customer service rep doesn't dare give them any lip whatsoever. It's yes sir, no sir, what can I do for you? Why? Because all of our subconscious minds are different. Maybe a better example is two men walk into a room, and they're the same stature. They look about the same size, the same build, and they start interacting with the men that are already in the bar or in the room. And one of them gets snickered at, and somebody treats him with a little disrespect. The second guy walks in the room and nobody does that, because somehow they know, if I mess around with that guy, it's going to cost me. I can just tell. I don't know. I'm not going to mess with him.
Mm,
All right.
yeah.
Why? Because one guy feels different about his whole life, what he will and will not tolerate, and what he can or can't do about it. And all of our subconscious minds are connected. That's why you can also walk in a room and see somebody you've never met before and know, that's like my buddy. Or, oh, I don't like that person, and they don't like me. Why?
Mm,
You haven't even met. No, it's your subconscious minds are connected. So change how you feel about your overarching vision of who you are and what you accept, what you're looking for, what you're pursuing, what you will not accept. And everybody else will be changed by that, and they will treat you differently. You'll get different results. It's very easy to see in others, but it works for you too. And that's why you get the results you get. It's why your husband dares say little things.
mm,
He
yeah.
wouldn't say that if he was married to your sister, because that would be the end of the relationship, and you know it and he knows it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, change how you feel about who you are.
Yeah.
All right, here's the last thing I'm going to say, Kelly, and then you get the final word. I want to hear what you think about this.
Mm-hmm.
But the last thing I'll say is, to drastically change your life, you must, by definition, become a different person. You
Mm-hmm.
do that by pretending to be that person. And after you've pretended to be that way for 30 days, 60 days, a year, You're not pretending anymore. You just are that new person, and you will get that new person's results, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And just embodying that, like just what would that person think? What would a person do? What would they do? And that again, you're creating the energy around who that person is, and it's coming into you. So I mean, I can definitely absolutely agree with that. And I just, yeah, I mean, again, it's you're leading in the direction of allowing your mind to create what you want in your life. And if you have somebody that you can emulate in that way, just like you were talking about before, that's huge. So now you know exactly what you want to create.
Yeah, and it's about that simple. Ask any architect or musician, where does creation take place? And they're going to be like, well, I dream it up. And then I write down what I dreamed up. Go
Yeah.
do it. Have fun. And the first thing you're going to notice is that life for you has changed immediately, because you're living in a place where you're happy. You feel like you got some control, because you have 100% control of
Hmm.
that world. It's
Yeah.
your imagination. You can have it any way you want. So decide
Absolutely.
how you want it and experience it right now. And you'll have the same feelings that you would have if you had experienced it in the physical realm. So
Hmm.
go experience anything you want to experience right now and live in
Yeah.
those feelings. Enjoy those feelings.
I love that. And like, if I could sum this whole conversation up, just like one word that really resonates with me is empowering. And in a world that many of us feel disempowered, it's like you have the power within you at all times. And it's almost like, uh, the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy had a ruby slippers at all times, but she didn't realize the power that she had to use them. And now like once she realized, oh, I have this power, I could have gone home at any time. Like now it's like once you know this and you are understanding that the power is literally within you, you don't have to rely on anyone else but yourself. Like that's so powerful to change your life. And I'm just so grateful for everything you shared today and in part one. And for really empowering people to realize that they are the creators of their own world.
Well, Kelly, thanks for having me on. This is my most favorite topic. So I just really had a great time talking to you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And same to you. I really enjoyed this. I feel like this is something we could talk about for days, but I'm so grateful that you came back and shared this really exciting part of that and such actionable strategies that you can really use. And I mean, I took a lot from this too, and will be changing things in my life to create more of what I want. So I'm just so grateful for everything you shared today. And
Well,
again,
if you want to do it again, we can go deeper and deeper. This has
yeah,
no bottom. You can just keep going. So this was
yeah.
fun. Let's do it again.
I love it. I'm game. I would love to have you back on because again, this is something that I think you can't say enough. Like this is something that is literally the key to everything. And so I'm so grateful again. And for anyone listening, leave comments about what resonated with you the most and share this episode with someone you think would benefit from it. And again, thank you so much for spending your precious time with us.
Thank you, Kelly. We'll see you soon.
I don't know about you, but that conversation left me feeling so empowered and wanting to implement all the tips and strategies that Jeff shared. And I hope it did the same thing for you. I hope it left you feeling like you have the power to create whatever you desire in your life, whether it's better health, relationships, finances, more freedom in your life, more joy, whatever it means to you. I hope that you now feel like you have the next step forward to do that, to create that feeling within your life so that it can become a reality in your life. Thank you so much again for joining us in this episode, and I'm so grateful for you.